I asked Latin American researcher Christopher Gaffney about Brazil's path from winning the Olympic bid to dwindling international confidence in the Rio Games.
The Olympic trajectory in Rio has followed a very strange path, I would say. Brazil was at the height of its geopolitical and economic power back in 2009, and now it's down in the doldrums in any number of aspects. And ticket sales are low. International tourists are perhaps staying away because they're afraid of Zika. I know some athletes have suggested that they won't go to the games because they plan on getting pregnant and don't want to run the risk of Zika. South Korea just unveiled uniforms that would protect their athletes from mosquito bites. And so I think there is a lot of concern in the international community about how safe is Rio, how prepared it is, and whether or not it's worth spending the money to go there. And I guess we'll see. But in the local context, the Brazilians are not particularly excited about the Olympics, it would seem. Less than half the tickets are sold. People are concerned with economics and politics and getting by in a very chaotic city on a daily basis. And so I think the Olympics are taking a back seat to real-life concerns.
If we look back at the World Cup, there were issues with some of the stadiums there, some construction-related issues as well. Talk to me about that and the concerns there.
Well, the World Cup was a test run for what's happening in Rio right now. We saw 8 workers be killed because of hasty construction or not following safety regulations during the building of the World Cup stadia. What we're seeing in Rio is very much the same thing, where we have infrastructure projects that are being rushed to completion, and there are so many projects that the city government doesn't really have the capacity to monitor them or to go through rigorous environmental processes or engineering standardization tests. And so the collapse of the bike path was a result of the confluence of all these factors and really a lack of concern with public safety on the part of not only the city government, but of the companies contracted to carry off these works.
So, Christopher, about 100 days out, what can be done to remedy any of the things that we've been talking about?
What we really should be concerned about is the ways in which the Olympics are going to perhaps worsen the situation for people on the streets in Rio. What we know is that Rio will have 85,000 armed police for these games, which is twice as many as London had. And so one of the things we could do, it would be to send human rights monitors to the city to ensure that police brutality does not happen. It has happened in previous mega events in Rio. Another thing we could do is to look at the structural problems that the Olympics have exacerbated and to really talk with Cariocas, residents of Rio, about what their daily reality is like in a city that's been under construction for 7 years, has had its planning agenda completely transformed by the Olympics, and where people are really suffering from a lack of public services. For instance, there are more than 40 public schools being occupied by students right now because they are protesting the lack of funding. The Rio Olympics will cost at least 39 billion reais, or 10 billion US, and this is a transference of money to Olympic projects at the expense of basic necessities for the population.